Perfect. Okay. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another great edition of the Frankie Salsa Show. We're keeping the interviews going here this year. It's 2022, and try not to disappoint. Everybody enjoyed the Williams re-interview that I did last week, promoting the Kicking Up Country event, and we actually had a good time hanging out with the Williams Re after the event was over, and it was a lot of fun. So I appreciate everybody who enjoyed that interview. And now we got a brand new interview with somebody who's totally different than Williams and Reed. Not even in the comedy realm, more in the blues, rock and roll realm, which is always fun. When we could get a blues artist or a singer or songwriter, somebody who's young, somebody who's up and coming. Not many people know about, but a lot of people are learning about. His name is Nathan Pope. And Nathan, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going?
That's going very well, very well. Just all excited to have you on.
Absolutely.
Was able to get your copies of your
Yep.
CD, your
Yep.
album. Let's see, it's called "Waiting There for Me,"
Yep.
and I like it because it's just a good color. Red.
Yeah.
It's always a what idea went into the color of the album or just the album creation
I
in
just
general.
had the weirdest thing in my mind. Like every time, like both albums, like when I do all the artwork. And the first one, I had a good idea, and then this one, I knew I wanted it on the beach, but it's like I had this like dream so many times as a kid of this red sunset at Ocean Isle Beach in North Carolina, and that was like for some reason I kept having that dream as like at 3 and 4,
Yeah.
and it was just the perfect day. I mean, it was wild to me. I saturated the picture just a little bit, but that was just how it was.
I mean, it looks good. I mean, it's like doesn't seem too saturated to me. I
Yep.
mean, I've seen oversaturated album art
Oh
before,
yeah.
and oversaturated things like you watch a 4K movie or a Blu-ray, and
Oh
sometimes the
yeah.
color
Oh yeah.
isn't what it's
Colors are
supposed to
way
be.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, or it's not what it's supposed to be. We just
Yeah.
watched that Doctor
Yeah.
Strange movie last night and Disney Plus, and I thought it looked beautiful
Hmm.
compared to the first one. So
Yep.
I don't know. It's weird how that works sometimes. I guess
Yep.
when it comes to that, but yeah, I've listened to it a few times. I kind of went from picked a few songs that I liked, and of
Hmm.
course the first one I really like because that's the start of the album,
Yep.
Alive, and then you really go into it with 11 other great tracks, and it just I listened most of it on Spotify
Hmm.
before I was able to get the physical
Gotcha.
copies
Yeah.
because that's where it came out first.
Hmm.
And I love how digital releases when people are willing to do that. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, I get it. Spotify has to make their money too, blah blah blah. But I don't care about all that stuff. I'm
Yeah.
happy that we're able to listen to it so that if somebody
Yep.
wants to purchase or something,
Yep.
that they know what you sound like and they're not
Yep.
going to be disappointed in their
Yep.
purchase.
Yep. So true.
So I
So true.
mean, do you think that will help you a little bit in
Oh,
your
it helps a
promotion
lot.
and sales?
Oh, it helps so much. Almost all of, like I wouldn't say almost all of them, but I'd say at least 40% of the sales are from people that found it on Spotify and were like, "Whoa, I like this." I
Okay.
mean, it's great to have that, like, but I would have had physical copies the first day, but the songs didn't even get finished processing legally until like 24 hours before it came out. So there
Oh,
was
okay.
no way I could get it. It was such a crunch time with this album.
Well, let me ask you this because I've never really said anything on Spotify before
Mhm.
because I'm not an artist or anything like that. But how's that even work? Like, do you have an agent that helps you with that? Do
You
you have somebody that
basically,
helps you?
yeah, so you have to have a company. Even though I'm under my own record label, you still have to have a distribution company.
Okay.
So we used DistroKid, but like we did almost everything on our end ourselves. The only thing we used DistroKid for was just so it has the tag of being distributed by whoever. But
Okay.
like all of the rights and the company is under me.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna
So,
say
but
you kind of own your
it's
own
easy
stuff.
though. Anybody could do it.
Okay. It's just like a simple upload, or do you have
Yeah,
to?
it is. It is.
Okay.
Like I said, as long as you have a company like DistroKid is cheap as dirt. All you need to have is the songs and $20 in your pocket, and you're good to go.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah,
that's
it's
cool
not
then.
bad.
Yeah, I figured they'd be like, oh, once we do this, we own you. We own your digital revenue because I don't know what artists are complaining about when it comes to why Spotify isn't like paying. I don't
Yeah,
understand. I don't. Neil
yeah.
Young's deal. I'm sure you heard about that. Everybody did.
Mm,
Kind of made a thing about that. I just didn't understand it. I figured, well, first of all, Neil, you have lots of money anyway. What are you
exactly.
complaining about?
Yeah.
What are you bitching about?
Yep. Yep.
So I don't know. I think he kind of hurt himself by hurting Spotify a little bit
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I like Spotify. It's been around for a long time, probably
Yeah.
about at least a good 10 years since
Mhm.
I've been using it. And yeah, I used to use iTunes and stuff like that,
Mhm.
but I don't know. Spotify just seems simple to me,
It's
you know.
simple, it's easier, you can do it like that, you don't have to wait.
And I think that
It's
it's
nice.
you can find everything. They're not going to charge you, per song like how iTunes
Exactly.
used to do. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's
And for
very
the
nice.
and like for the artists, they're still gonna make the money. I mean, they might not make as much as they would have made on iTunes, but they'll still make the money because people will constantly go back and re-listen, and they can add it to playlists. It's just easier than it
Yeah, it's
happens.
just like when Metallica we used to complain about Napster and all that. Now look where
Yeah,
we are.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
Right.
Spotify is almost like a Napster if you don't pay
Yeah,
the premium, or
yeah.
people are still getting it for free one way or
Yep,
another.
yep,
So
yep.
anyway, but no, it's a definitely a good album that really tells the story. I
It
think
is.
of kind of how you're kind of starting to let the world know about you a little bit.
Yeah.
Now you've had other stuff out before, but this is
Mm.
kind of like an official release, we'll say.
It is. It is. Being the first full-length album, only one cover. I mean, it's 11. It was originally gonna be 12 originals, but it's 11 originals and one cover. But the one cover is like a practically a different song compared to the original. It's "Blue on Black" by Kenny Wayne Shepherd, but I completely flipped the song. It hardly has any remains of the original version at all. But yeah, this album definitely tells the story about me. It's from my beginning to where I am now, the future. It kind of covers everything.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. And it should. I mean, that's if you're going to tell a story and put
Yep.
yourself out there in the media world. I mean, people want to know as much as they can about
Yep.
you. Some
Yep.
artists don't tell as much, when they make
Yep.
albums. So they just
Yep.
like, here it is.
Yep. Here it is. Here's some lyrics that don't mean
Yeah,
anything.
and
Came out
you'll learn
fresh out of
more.
Hollywood.
Yeah, you'll learn more about me in the second album, and
Yeah.
maybe even the
Yeah.
third album too.
Yep. Yep. So true. So true.
But then some of those artists become very successful, even the
Yeah.
ones that don't say. Because back in the day, the process of making albums was so much different than it is now.
Yeah. It
I don't
is.
know if it's easier now or harder now or what, but I don't
Just
know.
depends on the person you are.
Well, then people that have helped you create the
Yeah.
album, so
Yeah.
it's like that was kind of nice. I'm sure to have
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah.
Who
Oh
did
yeah.
you have help you? I mean,
Um,
like to put together.
to put the whole thing together, I mean, it was definitely a couple people there for the advice, but what was originally supposed to be we're gonna hire some people ended up me doing it all, but that's my
Oh,
fault. But I'm glad I did.
yeah.
And it originally started with Kenny Aronoff and Dave, his sound guy, kind of giving me some stuff about the album, some tips. And then from there, it went on to John Agnello, who was kind of like the guy that somewhat, he kind of co-mixed it. Really was just kind of there to make sure I wasn't slamming the tuba so hard that it was clipping before it went to go get mastered, because I have a really bad habit of doing that.
Sure.
Actually, if you listen to Ain't Worth Fighting For on the album, I probably, before I went to send it off to get mastered, it was probably like only 1 dB under zero. So you can hear
Oh,
it clipping the whole master, and that's my fault. But I have
well,
John
when
Agnello that helped,
you
and
get into the
he's
moment, so I mean, it's like
John Agnello. I remember him telling me this story. Very, very popular producer, mixer, whatever. Now I'm just drawing a blank on who he's done, but like his very first project he did was Kiss at like 19.
oh, jeez.
It's like, what?
Like their first album, or just like their
No,
first,
it was
or
just his
one of their
first
albums.
with his first little gig as being a.
Okay.
I guess it was a co, and it was in New York. I think is what he told me.
You're not sure
So he's really good, and
what the name of the album was that he did or worked on
I
at
I
all.
have no idea.
Okay.
I'm not even sure if he'd remember which project it was he was
I would
working
have
on.
asked him that if because
I should.
test his knowledge a lot.
He knows, personally knows. Like he was at Peter Frampton's rehearsal studio a couple weeks ago, and he's wild. And then I had Greg Calby master it, and he was great. He was with Sterling Sounds. He was really great because I told him, like, I had 1,000 words of notes, told him what to do by the frequency, and he nailed it. But he's done like everybody. He's the one that mastered Crossroads, Eric Clapton's Crossroads. Just a
Okay.
heads up to everybody.
Oh wow.
Most of John Mayer's, all of Bob Dylan stuff, the Beatles. Like
Jeez.
personally knew the Beatles really well. Like John Lennon was buddy buddy with him. So yeah, it was a little it was definitely a little bit of everybody.
Well, then how are you able to become buddy buddy with all these people? And is it that like this kid from the Carolinas able to, you
That's the
know?
money question. That's the question
Oh,
nobody asks, but that's the money
oh, well,
question.
I'm asking that.
It is, if you look on the inside of the album, I said this album was created by a series of coincidences that aren't coincidences. And
Okay.
I don't care really what your view on life is, whatever. there's no way you can deny that this stuff is just. I mean, it started off with, okay, so I won Dallas last year, and as right as I get off the stage for that competition, that was the competition for best guitar player under the world under 20 years old. There's
Yep.
no higher competition. This is as good as you can get. And I get off stage. The first thing I do is I go call my grandma. And my grandma doesn't know anything about the United States, where the states are. Nothing. She's a hoot. Whatever.
Yeah.
Only place she knows is North Carolina, and that's about it.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
and I said, yeah, or actually, yeah, that's what it was. And I said, yeah, well, after I leave here, I'm gonna be on the way to Hollywood as a joke, total
Sure.
joke. All right.
Yeah.
And of course, she takes me seriously. A week later, I get a call, and I'm going to Kenny Aronoff's studio in Hollywood, North Hollywood. So
Oh
it starts
wow.
there. So this guy that my mom knows, I can't say his name, but let me say his name. He wants to stay totally anonymous.
Oh, that's fine.
And he pays for me to go up there. And then a couple weeks later, he goes to my mom's office and is talking to my mom, and he's like, was there any other people Nathan liked growing up? And mom's like, yeah, Bogey Bowles, Joe Bonamassa drummer from the Albert Hall DVD. It's like his favorite drummer ever. He's like, oh, I know a guy that used to do drugs with Bogey back in college. It
You should
turns out
do.
it's like Bogey's best friend from college.
Oh
And
jeez.
so we get hooked up with him, and then this March I ended up getting in a studio in Utah, Funk Studios, and spent the day with Bogey. It was sweet. And like now I personally know him, and I never thought I'd call him. The weirdest thing ever is being able to call someone like that a friend, because that just never would, 10-year-old me, or not 10-year-old, 7-year-old me being obsessed with that DVD, I would have
Oh yeah.
and don't get me wrong, I was a nervous wreck when I got there.
Oh, I'm sure. Because
But
you didn't
that
know
that was
how to
sweet.
react to
It
it.
was just like, and there's so many other things I'm missing right now, and I've got a
Yeah.
documentary I'm working on. It's about 20-30 minutes long that covers everything. So I
Oh,
pretty much filmed the entire thing start to finish, because I just knew from the beginning, like this. The second the Dallas win happened, I was like, there's some really crazy things that are gonna start happening in my life. And so
yeah.
I documented the whole thing, but there's so many things I'm missing. But it was just it was like every other day. Coincidence, coincidence, coincidence. There's no way. Like all this stuff, it's like a monopoly of dominoes falling. And it was, I mean, it's just totally wild to me.
Well, I mean, I feel you on that 100%, because when I started doing these interviews back in 2006, I didn't know what to do.
Mm,
I didn't know who I was going to meet, who I was going to run into. I felt like this was kind of like destiny, kind of,
yeah,
in a way.
it
Like this is
feels that
something I
way.
had to do. So
It feels that
it's
way.
probably the same way with you.
Yep.
You had to do this because this is what you wanted out of
Yep.
life,
Yep.
and now you're getting what you want.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it's amazing.
Yep.
And for me, I met so many different people, a lot of heroes and stuff that I never thought I'd ever meet. And
Yeah.
it's amazing
Yeah.
how media and entertainment, and how most of these guys are like friends with each other, or they
Yeah.
know each other. So
Yep.
it's like a circle kind of like.
It is. You think it's such a big world, and you never make it into that bubble with those people.
Yeah.
But like, I promise you could call Kenny Aronoff right now and have him, on your song. Like, these people aren't that hard to get. Now, granted, people like Bogey, yeah, they're hard to get. But like, you don't realize that circle. Yeah, that circle's there, and yes, they are way up here, and they're.
Yeah.
But once you get in, you're in. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just like, it's so what, because then you have that perspective of like, I could have done this a while ago, but it's like that industry kept secret. And
Yeah.
I'm glad it's there, because then you'd have an oversaturated market more than it
But
already is.
then you've done. I mean, you're young, so I mean, you're only
Exactly.
20, so you could have done this like when you're 15. No,
Yeah.
you did it at the right time.
Yeah.
Now you have your whole life where you can just maybe pick and choose your
Yeah.
route, kind of what you want to do now.
Yep. Yep.
So I mean, and that's the greatest part about it.
Hmm.
I can't stress that enough. You and I are a lot similar in ways than we think.
Yep.
Even though you're doing probably more than I am when it comes to putting yourself out there,
Mhm.
but still, I think
Yeah.
once you are passionate about something, you see if it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's harder. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it's not, because
Oh yeah.
it was hard for me too.
Oh yeah.
But sometimes it gets easy. So
Yep. Yep.
so that's what's awesome about that. And it's great to have you on too, because
Absolutely.
we're just happy to get some young artists on that are
Yeah.
the future of the
Yep.
industry. Because
Yep.
I love blues music. I've always loved rock and roll. I've always
Yep.
loved like classic country. I'm thinking of like, I mean, I like techno stuff too or whatever,
Mhm.
but I don't like fake music.
I don't either.
I like music from the heart. And
I
maybe
agree.
techno and all that's kind of fake, whatever. It's computerized, whatever.
Yep.
But I like, because I've been a DJ and all that, and I have radio experience. You have to kind of like other genres,
Yeah.
in a way. So
Yeah.
I can't just hate one and like the other. I
Yeah.
gotta accept them all.
Yep.
But with blues, rock and roll, and all that stuff, I mean, it's amazing the stuff that people come up
Yeah.
with. I
Yeah.
mean, with your songs, how long did it take you to get the creative juices flowing to start saying, you know what, I'm gonna start writing songs, and this we're gonna see what happens.
The way I write is normally without intention, but with intention. So this subconscious thing is it's kind of I start I'm just noodling around and I come up with this main riff. And instantly I know a name and I know what the song needs to be about. I don't know the lyrics yet. And then spend a night maybe from midnight to 6 in the morning and get the demo done. And I write my lyrics last, and everybody can get mad at me for that. But at the same time, if you go listen to my album, the lyrics, every single line has a reason and a purpose, and it makes sense because it's an actual thing that happened, not just a. There's not a single word line in the album that is not an actual event.
Sure.
And but I do that on purpose because when you write the song knowing what it's about, but you don't know the lyrics yet, it almost gives it more of a true just a feeling rather than a meaning for the you want the instruments to have the feeling and you want the vocals to have the purpose. And like I've learned that's what kind of sets my songs to be so much different. Is they separate themselves. That makes the vocals that more powerful. It makes the instrumental that more powerful. And but yeah, I pretty much start to finish get the demo done in about 6 hours, fully mixed, everything mastered in about 6 hours. And
Jeez.
and most of the songs were kind of written within a span of maybe 4 months max, if that.
Okay.
Really, all the songs. It's this one was different because it was over the such a long span of time that I knew the initial part of the song.
Uh-huh.
Like Slow on this album, I wrote when I was like 7, but could never come up with a lead part. So I came out of the bath. I was in the bathtub, and all of a sudden I come out screaming, saying, "Oh my god, I got a lead! I got a lead!" And I'm wearing nothing like but my towel at that point. And so I'm dripping wet. Mom and dad are, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I run in here and I grab an acoustic guitar, get my phone camera, and I hit record and I record the audio for the lead piece for Slow because I'd always had that synth pad and the drums and the bass there, but just like I could never fit in. Boom. It was
Huh?
just every song was kind of like that. It was never okay, I'm gonna sit down and write now. It was always just really natural, authentic. I don't write just to write. That's
Wow.
where you start sounding like something coming out of Hollywood.
Yeah, yeah, and your goal is to kind of stay away from that, even though you have
Yeah.
kind of Hollywood kind of helping you in a
Yeah.
way. So it's kind
Yep.
of it's kind of a cluster, kind of, but hey,
Yep.
it's a good cluster
Yep.
though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like when I listened to your first song, the song "Alive," the one that you kind of promoted as your
Yeah.
main song
Yep.
to promote the album, to me, that's kind of a cluster of just a mix of just like, holy crap. Well, I wasn't sure what direction we were going because I thought you were like a blues
Yep.
guy, and then
Yep.
it's like it goes way beyond that. So it sounds like we're listening to like a '90s grunge song or
It
something
is
like that.
because, like, especially Alive, if I could name one song that sums my style the best, it's Alive because it's like I'm trying to essentially think of Joe Bonamassa, think of B.B.
Yeah,
King, and think of Muddy Waters. Those three. Let's just say those three led a generation of blues.
yeah.
My
Oh, they
goal
definitely
is to
have.
be the next version of those three. I want to be the
Sure.
one that when you think of that generation of blues, you think of him. That's why I'm kind of, as time goes on, music changes, and especially blues has, and people hate that it gets political, whatever. You want to stick with your traditional Chicago blues, you go for that. But my
Yeah.
goal is to be that one person that truly steps up and takes the lead to start that new era of blues rock.
And that's what I like about Joe Bonamassa because he's a constantly. If he's not
Yep.
helping somebody, he's constantly like changing himself up
Yep.
all the time.
Yep.
I mean, a new album every year, a live album every year, or whatever.
Yep.
I've been keeping track since 2016 since I started getting to liking all this stuff, and I'm just like blown away by all how
Yep.
creative the guy is.
And that's the
So,
thing. Everybody can say playing the Chicago Blues, and I'm gonna piss some people off saying this, but I'd rather say it. You're Chicago Blues. I'm fine with that. But if you really want to keep the blues alive, support the people that are playing the new stuff. Because without the new stuff and without the kids like me, you're not gonna have blues for a whole lot longer. I would
sure,
say before my generation, my age group of kids came along and started playing blues, blues was on a very fast track to dying. Whether you want to think it was or not, because I was there right as it was, and thankfully the kids, and I've met almost all of the kids in the United States playing blues, and I met them all in Mississippi for the Pine Top Perkins Workshop, and there's not a whole lot of us, I promise you. There's probably less than 100 kids in the entire United States, specifically in guitar, that are trying to carry blues on. Let that
Sure,
sink in for a minute, everybody. If you want the music to keep going on, then at least be okay. You don't have to change your style, but at least be okay with us trying to carry it on.
yeah,
I mean, without, like I said, without us, you're not going to have blues for much longer. And we still love those stuff. Like, at the end of the day, one of my favorite people on this planet is BB King. Always.
sure.
Those people will always carry on, but it doesn't mean they always have to be the front line.
That's right. That's right. Sometimes a change is needed.
It is.
Because the Blues Bill channel is great on satellite radio, and I love early times. I've had him on before
Yep.
here, but sometimes I just feel like they're just pushing the same old.
They
I mean, until somebody new comes along and changes it up a little bit, but then it's
Yep.
just still kind of the same old, same old. I love it, and also
Yeah.
continue to support it, but it's just like, come on, like for me, I'm sick of top 40 radio. I hate top
Aren't we all?
40.
Aren't we all?
And I'm glad that you like that too. Because there are a lot of people that like it, that will listen
Uh-huh.
to it every day, that don't mind it, whatever. I met those people. I'm just like, how the hell can you just stay and listen to the
You
same
take
songs
one
every
peek
day?
behind the curtain in Hollywood, and I promise you'll never listen to Top 40 again.
Oh, it just drives me nuts because it's like all the stations you want to support these local stations. You
Yep.
want to be like, hey, I love my radio station, but why can't they play something different?
Local.
Why
Something
can't
local.
or
Something different.
local
Something that's not the top 40 all the time.
a deeper because I'm an album guy.
Mm.
When it comes, I appreciate the whole album. So
Mhm.
like for example, like if my radio show was still going on, I
Mhm.
would play almost everything from this album,
Gotcha.
not just the couple promoted
Mhm.
songs or whatever.
Yep.
That's what I believe in. But
Yep.
most people don't. Heads up, they don't care about that. They figure the money makers are the
Yep.
top 40, and that's it.
Yep.
It's like
Yep.
Jesus Christ. Well, then
Yeah.
why make an album then? Why don't you just release
Just
like
release a single.
this is a single and that's it. Some
Yeah.
people do that. So
Yep.
yeah. I mean, it's bothered me a long time.
Yeah.
I'm 38 years old, so I've listened to a lot of music and I've listened to a lot of radio and all that.
Mhm.
And being a radio person myself, I always change stuff up,
Yeah.
because we were allowed to,
Mhm.
working for a community college and everything.
Yeah.
So they had different rules there because they weren't getting paid,
Mhm.
to worry about all that stuff.
Mhm.
So they let us be creative. So
Yeah.
if I was still, doing that, I would definitely have played your stuff,
Mhm.
as a segment because, yeah, I mean that's the stuff that needs to be played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So are you on the road at all, doing any touring at all,
For
or
not
what's
right
what's
now.
up?
Right now maybe found what we're hoping to be a agency I want to work with for booking. Really, right now it's mainly just promoting the album, just getting it out to enough people to where I don't have to stay in one area of the United States
Yeah,
or one area of Europe or one area, that way
sure.
it's easier. That way it's not just I want a consistent product around the entire map that I'd be playing at, not just pieces of it. And it just makes everything easier, but it's really just trying to get my name out there right now, and it's working really well. This album has blew my expectations away on how this was gonna, everybody was gonna take it.
Well, so if you are going to do all the road or even
Yeah.
stay around the area or whatever, who do you have in your band to back you up?
So
I'm sure you're
at the
not by
moment,
yourself.
I've had my drummer since the beginning and my bass player for about a year. And they're willing to travel. They're both retired, and they've both
Okay.
said that they're 100% committed in
So
traveling.
they'll follow you wherever you
They
go, then
will.
pretty
At the end
much.
of the day, as long as it's enough to pay for, it's not even about making the money. It's just as long as it will pay for whatever we did.
Yeah,
So
sure.
that's just the main thing.
We'll never go in it for the money, no
No,
matter what. That's
no.
a lot of people do, and you see what type of fuck ups they
I've
become.
lost
Yeah,
more money than I've made money in this industry so far, but the reality
yeah,
is I've had more fun doing that than I would like
sure.
trying to make money.
But I'm just
Yeah,
saying
I'll
though,
get to that
like
point.
the Justin Biebers and all that of this world, and whoever else out there, we got famous rather quickly and got all this money and
Yeah.
forgot who they were.
Yeah.
Forgot where they came from. Don't ever forget where you come from. I hope if you do become famous that you
Yep.
always remember your roots and remember that, hey, I remember my humble
And
beginnings and
it's
stuff like
impossible
that.
not to remember it when you're like somebody like us that has worked their hind ass off for their entire life to get nowhere for a really long time.
Yeah.
Like for me, Dallas is my lucky break.
Yeah.
I had, that was I knew at the end of the day, everybody there, the 10 of us were really great. Regardless of skill, I can promise you, all 10 of those combined, and every single kid before me from all those years, I promise you, I wanted it more than all of them combined. I wanted that so goddamn bad. It's not even
Sure.
funny.
Sure.
And that really, but that was my lucky break. But man, this industry nowadays is not like it used to be. It's not about how good you are anymore.
Yeah.
It's just what
It's
social
mostly
media
about
do you
how
have
you
and connections.
how do you look is
And
more
it is.
too.
And at the
If
end
you
of the
got a
day,
six pack and all that, that's what people care about.
it's
It's like,
I
wow.
wanted to earn it. I wanted to earn. I wanted to win the competition. It wasn't always about showing that I was the best, but I damn sure knew, and not in a cocky way. I mean, I've got this gift. It's not just for nothing. I've
Yeah.
worked so hard for it my whole life, and I wanted that big break, and I wanted to prove it. And that was my chance to earn it, not just be given it, and then forget who I am when I've got $10,000 every 2 hours of my life.
Yeah.
And so that was. There's no way. There's no way I'm ever gonna forget. I mean, I never for childhood, I never just woke up, went to school, didn't think about a job, whatever. I mean, I've been thinking about music since, you know, I was literally like 4 is when I realized, oh crap, I got something because I'd learned how to
Sure.
pick out blue on black. And so
Yeah.
so there's no way. I mean, even now after winning Dallas, the remembering what that feeling felt like of being stuck will never go away. I don't care the day I get to step out on stage at the Robert Hall, I promise you the first thing I'm gonna think about is finally I made it somewhere. Finally, after all that, after all the times I've been screwed over, after all the times things didn't work out, finally. It's
Well,
so hard to
hopefully,
forget about yourself.
hopefully you'll make it big because I've talked to a few people that back in the day were nobodies,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden, give it a little bit of time, and all of a sudden now they're so popular. It's like I can't even do an interview with them anymore because
Mhm.
that's how popular they are.
Yeah.
It sucks because I like to talk to some people and get
Mhm.
that, see how their process has
Yep.
gone,
Yep.
but it's hard.
It
So
is.
I like this independent way sometimes because it's like, well, most of the kids who are doing stuff are more than happy to share their stories.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes, but maybe
Yep.
you get you again sometime when you reach that ladder, playing
Mhm.
at the Royal Hall and all that stuff, and
Yeah.
who knows, and maybe you might come to the Fire Blues Fest someday,
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
headliner or something.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yep.
So I appreciate you, Nathan. I really do. And
Absolutely.
for anybody that wants to find your music or know more about you, how can they do so?
Spotify, everything, just look up Nathan Pope. I'm verified on Google. You can look up Nathan Pope, or all of my social media is Nathan Pope Music, no spaces. You can find me there. YouTube is Nathan Pope Music, and my website is nathanpopemusic.com.
All right, man. I appreciate your time and
Absolutely.
thanks again. We'll talk
Thanks
to
so
you later.
much.